City Matters.
This is Alan Mindel with Influential Origins, and I promise this is the concluding chapter of my time with Abraham Hamra, who's given me a lot of it. But there's so many interesting things he just brought up that I want to make sure we cover them a little bit.
Absolutely.
In modern times. You know, part of how I know that Jews in America have some of them become privileged is because it takes a special kind of privilege for a Jew who doesn't know its history, doesn't know that they've been kicked out of all these countries in Europe, all these places throughout the Middle East. You know, I mean, they've seen Fiddler on the Roof. They know they're going from, they don't stay in Antarctica for long, right? All the countries that we were from, Libya, Morocco, Iran, Iraq, Yemen. I mean, we could go on and on and on about all these places that Jews once lived. You know, you want to travel the world, there's going to probably be a Jewish quarter where Jews once were, but somehow aren't there today. The incredible privilege that someone has to think that, no, they don't have to stand up to their community. They're above it all. They're not Jews. They're just Americans, and they don't have to worry about their rights. You know, it blows my mind. And I'm an Ashkenazi guy, right? And this is something that has come up in the issue, which is, you know, where we say some of the most dangerous things to the Jewish community are Jews that don't get that they're Jews.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, this is a phenomenon.
It's weird. It's an internalization of being some type of, I don't know what. It's just strange.
Right. Could you imagine criticizing the existence of a state of Israel as someone who had to escape Hafez al-Assad?
Never.
In a million years, you wouldn't do it.
Never.
If you were someone who lived in Iran in 1979.
Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist.
You were there in 1979.
The Mizrahi
They're
school would
hanging
kick you out.
people. You were running businesses. You were in universities, and the next thing you know, everyone's getting beheaded. All your property is being taken, and you're running for your life. You understand the value of freedom in America and of Israel.
Absolutely.
To be around today, incredible how blind you have to be to history, how privileged you are to think that, you know, it's going to be okay. I'm a gay Jew for Palestine, right? Where if I was gay, and I know this for a fact, right? Because we've been to these places. If you're gay in the West Bank, in Gaza, in any of those Arab countries,
As NSYNC says, bye, bye, bye.
you're dead. You're dead. It's not a conversation.
No.
It's over.
No.
You know, it's the part that makes me the craziest.
Actually, it makes a lot of sense to me.
How does it make sense to you?
Oh my God, it makes a world of sense. We both had very different diaspora experiences.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a big thing in the internet. I don't see a difference between Ashkenazi Jews and Sephardic Jews or Mizrahi Jews. We're all one people.
I so believe that too, and it's so important. You know, I've heard you talk about this topic, so I want you to talk.
Yeah. I know. I just wanted to bring that up before getting into everything. But we have to dilute it and step back. And for me, this originates from, and I know this may be controversial to some. Again, I don't hate anybody. This is just conversation. I'm
Right.
always open to being wrong. It comes from the very foundation of Reform and denominational Judaism. If you look up at the early founding papers of Reform Judaism in Germany, what was the idea? Why did they need to reform Judaism? Germany at the time, the Jews were experiencing a high life. We were finally being accepted by German society
As equals.
as equals for now, right? Like
For now, for a minute.
and so I get it as a human being now. You know, I'm in America. I'm accepted, and so many friends want to tell me, "Hey, come to a football game on a Friday night."
Right.
It gets annoying after a while to say, "I can't. It's Shabbat. I'm Jewish."
Right.
And in a society that is ever more accepting of you and your uniqueness as a Jew, and they don't want to kill you, the more you want to assimilate with that society.
Right.
And the Charter of Reform Judaism says we need to basically make the Torah's laws more European, more assimilated with European society.
We've got a better idea. The fact that this lasted 5,000 years, we can tweak it.
Right. Like, let's just change it without asking anybody else, right? Without asking the Jews of Syria. And this is why I'm like, you're breaking our connection when one group, one segment decides to amend the constitution of the Jewish people without the unanimous consent of anybody outside of Germany.
Right.
Like, it's a little but I get it.
Right.
Fine. They went through sections, times before the Holocaust. Berlin is our new, who needs Jerusalem when we have Berlin? These are actual quotes that happened, and it's understandable.
They didn't age well.
But it's understandable from a human perspective.
Right.
They weren't wrong in a human way. Us, the Mizrahi Jews diaspora experience, we never mixed and assimilated or accepted. You know, if you're going to marry a Muslim girl, you couldn't just be non-religious in any way and you're going to have an interfaith. No, you're going to be converting to Islam or you're going to be killed for marrying a Muslim girl. Like, you understood Jews are with Jews. And so we held on to it.
Because if you didn't keep it, the people around you made sure you remembered who you were.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it was such different experiences. And so now I see the United States and this same ideology continuing. Now, it has continued from the civil rights area on a left-leaning side. Why? Because the left and the Democrats historically were the party that were standing up for justice in all different avenues.
Right.
Worker
And up
justice.
until recently for Jews.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so these synagogues and these places of worship, the Reform Judaism, had to follow the same ideological charter that created Reform Judaism. How do we move our Judaism closer to what America is, closer to what we consider good in modern Western society? And so all of a sudden DEI became a thing and inclusion became a thing. And we're white, we're white colored and we're privileged. And so now to be a good Jew, it's about tikkun olam. And tikkun olam became the only law in the Torah.
Which, by the way, is a real law and is something we should be doing. It's just not the only one.
But no, they took tikkun olam and they basically said the democratic values of fighting for LGBTQ and fighting for feminism is tikkun olam. No, it's not. With all due respect, and I have nothing against gay people, but no, it's not. Tikkun olam is not standing up and demanding gay marriage. That's not tikkun olam. It is forbidden from the Torah to be in a gay marriage. I'm not saying we should do anything, and I respect everybody 100%.
Right.
But
we might not agree on this point of it through, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Speaking in a way, I'm accepting of everybody. Gay, not gay, trans, whatever you want to be. God bless you, right?
Whatever you want to be.
But the idea, ideologically, we're arguing from a Torah perspective. If the Constitution that we've all agreed to, that nobody had the right to evolve, tells you you're not allowed to, and now you're going to say it's tikkun olam to advocate for it being allowed, you've changed it.
I understand that.
But it didn't stop at that, right? Like, I
don't even want to
argue that because I don't care.
No, but it didn't stop at that is the real problem.
Right. And it
also got hijacked like so many other things through because I believe in diversity.
Me too.
I believe in equity. I believe in inclusion. I just don't think that the DEI movement stands for any of those things.
You know, I went to DEI conferences because I did immigration law.
Right.
And I thought one year, I'm like, let me go to a DEI inclusion conference and sell my immigration services.
Right.
And I went there. And
I wish I had video of that one, but yeah.
It was a couple of years. It was actually right after October 7th. It was in November of 2023.
Wow.
I get there. Everybody of color, me and them were hanging out, joking how stupid this was. How this has just become one big industry with companies selling you how to pronounce names and not pronounce names.
Right, because that's not equity or inclusion.
It is stupidity.
That is stupidity.
And so all of a sudden, these multi-generational American Jews who did see success, who saw opportunities, look at themselves as they're privileged and they're above it all. But what they don't see, and they need to fight for inclusion, and they need to fight for the oppressed person. And the oppressed person is obviously the Palestinian. It's obviously the Arab. And our tikkun olam, our Jewish values, tells us to stand up for the oppressed.
Yeah.
But what they do is erase our existence from the entire.
And they forgot their own history of it through because, when my family came here, right? My parents are from Poland, right? Poland was not France, right? It wasn't this incredibly educated society where Jews were, the most educated people. And, they were considered, my parents, they were called the greeners. I don't know if you ever heard that term.
Never heard of it.
It's like the green behind the ears because they were like, they had the outhouses, they had the farmhouses, and somehow we were the dirty, uneducated Jews that had come in here through.
Right.
But the thing is, we remembered who we were. And some of these folks in Manhattan who had been here for 100 years before us
Forgot.
They forgot. They don't know how they got to New York.
Right.
It wasn't on the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. It wasn't that way. They were their great-great-grandparents, were raped in a pogrom, and then they got to New York. But now their great-great-grandchild is sitting there in Manhattan, right, with pink hair, screaming about how terrible the people that had just survived the same experiences their families did, but just a little bit more recently. And you know what? Regardless of the color of their skin, they're privileged. They were so privileged to not care about their own history. And for those that forget history, it's doomed to repeat itself.
But even beyond forgetting their own history of what they've been through and the trauma, there hasn't been an enforcement, a pride, and a joy in who we are as the Jewish people.
And by the way, you can love America. You can love its values. I certainly love football, right?
Same.
Right? It's the greatest sport on earth. I love basketball
Giants,
too.
It's not looking so great this year.
Be a Jet fan and tell me about pain. You weren't about the unprivileged. Be a Jet fan. But, that doesn't mean you can't be Shomer Shabbos.
Right.
That doesn't mean you can't be kosher.
Right.
It's a choice. And I've made good and bad choices in my life, my kids too.
Yeah, we all do.
You have to respect where people are with it,
Of course. But it's, we need to teach our kids to internalize it more, especially when it's under attack. I'll give you a perfect example. People go, what the heck is going on at NYU? I'll tell you what's going on at NYU.
Yeah.
I walked around NYU's campus. Yeah. Go walk around the restaurants there. You'll see halal, 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 halal.
Right.
They all become halal. They're trendy. They're fun. So if you're a Muslim kid and you're telling your friends, your Christian friends, that you need to go eat, let's go out to lunch after class, but I need to go eat halal. What the heck is halal? And you're teaching your Christian friends, your Jewish friends about halal. You're bringing them to a trendy restaurant where everybody's nice and hospitable. And so when shit hits the fan for the Muslim community, you can count on these people. The Jews, what do we have? The cafeteria with one guy, like, what do you want next? Like, this is the kosher. Nobody speaks about it. It's like, do you really keep kosher? Like, what are we going to eat? It has to be kosher. Instead of taking pride and saying, you know what, my Christian friends, my Muslim friends, I need to eat kosher. Let them ask you, what is kosher? Have the answer. Know your history. Right. Push it. It's not about the law. It's about you want to teach people. You want to respect you.
Be who you are.
Right. And that's what's forgotten. And when that's forgotten, people can manipulate who you are. And that's why these people have fallen to this level. All of a sudden, they think the Palestinians are the oppressors, and they need to stand with the oppressors. Otherwise, they're not just. What they've done is they don't know who they are. They don't know what the Torah is. They don't know anything about their life.
They don't know their ancient history, and they don't know their new history. And by the way, this pattern has gone on forever, too. I mean, when you hear about Judah Maccabee and Hanukkah, I mean, that's what that story is about. The story isn't about 8 crazy nights,
Which is the craziest thing to me. Right? It's like the Reform favorite holiday.
Right. Like, it's always like this great, it just so happened Judah Maccabee lit a candelabra. No, that's not what happened, It's a story about assimilation and the fight against it,
I'm not the most religious guy.
I promise you I'm not either.
I'm not saying I keep all the laws. But then I had this ideological argument with my friend. He's like, but you don't do this. You'll say you'll text on a Shabbat. I'm like, yeah, but I don't have to lie to myself about it and say it's not enough.
Right, I know what I did. Right, no, you have to be honest about what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
Otherwise, you'll lose it. Otherwise, you
Right.
can't transmit it. And the most important thing, and I look at these people that always like with the pink hair you're saying in the streets, screaming like
Right.
Palestine. Oh, you're actually the biggest racist of all. Because you don't even see the Mizrahi Jews who were displaced
Right.
and tortured and brutalized and oppressed at the
Right.
hands of the
Right.
people that you're standing for and calling oppressors as part of you.
Right. Bill Maher said it. He goes, not every Jew is like that white dentist you went to last week, Like, this is the thing. And this is also about why it is one community, The story of European Jews, those that came here earlier, and those like my family that survived the Holocaust, as well as those that came here from Syria and those that came here from Iran. I mean, I live in Great Neck. It's a very Iranian Jewish
right there with
community.
you.
Right. And I've had all these friends like, oh, the Iranians, foo, right? And I'm like, do you understand what these people live through? Do you understand how similar their story is to ours? Oh, but they didn't have a gas chamber. Oh, so that makes it okay that they hung their uncle in the street, that they took their property, that they had to leave with nothing, that they didn't know where their grandmother was. Did that make it okay? Did it make it okay that they had to leave Yemen with nothing? Did it make it okay that the Beit Israels in Ethiopia were called the Falashas,
Right.
that they were the outsiders? Because it wasn't okay, And, don't tell me that a Jew from X is better than a Jew from Y. Or this one was a Russian refusenik.
We're all one.
It's one group, whether you get it. Listen, and if you forget it, and you don't know it, and you don't believe it, don't worry. The world's going to teach you.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be standing right next to you on that train
Absolutely.
going. If you sit here and do nothing, you're going to end up in the same place. Better stand up for who you are now, because I promise you, the world's going to teach you.
Yeah, and look, and I say this, like at the end of the day, and you've heard the recent drama on the internet with Ashkenazi and Mizrahi, this one crazy guy who went on attacking all Ashkenazi Jews. Like,
What a nut.
he's out of his goddamn mind. Nima, whatever.
Right. By the way, it's the exceptions that prove the rule. There's always a nut.
Right, and I don't. By the way, his history is marred. No Mizrahi community would accept him.
Right.
That's a funny thing about this entire thing. I think his father was not Jewish. I think he's not married to a Jew. He doesn't belong to the Mizrahi community, but he wanted to be the leader of the Mizrahi Jews. And he just goes on an attack. You're a Polish Jew. Go back to Poland. You're white. I'm like, what are you doing? Right. He's like, I want to talk about the discrimination against the Mizrahis in early Israel. I'm like, look, discrimination can be horrible and it can be a very human thing as well, right? Like if you came to me and you go to me, Abe, do me a favor and cater a kosher meal.
Right.
I guarantee you'll not see gefilte fish or kugel. And these are the only two Ashkenazi dishes that I can name. Okay? So
you've heard of brisket.
You might come out. It's like, you've heard of cow.
Right. You've heard of it, right?
Of course.
Right.
But yeah, you get the point. Like, to my mind, it's, okay, Mom, can you make me the yabra? Can you make me the kibbeh? Can you make me the lahm bajin? And it's Syrian food. Am I being intentionally discriminatory against it? No, I just don't know. And a lot of these organizations that haven't included Mizrahi voices in the past just simply don't know of our existence. So our job is to demand inclusion, make our voices heard, but not to attack and take down anybody else. And at the end of the day, Judaism is important to me and it's important to you. And when we are confronted with a new type of Jew that we've never seen or never heard of before, it is only natural to be afraid, to ask questions, to almost discriminate a little bit in the beginning, right? Because it's something that's important to us.
Because you don't even think of it, or you just think of it, everyone believes that everyone else thinks the way they think.
Right. And
they can never imagine that there's a different view of the world than their own.
But it's been 75 years since we've gotten that shock of discrimination. I can talk about the discrimination my great-grandfather received. It doesn't matter anymore. Right. We've intermarried with each other, if you want to call it intermarriage.
It's not intermarriage. There's real intermarriage, which is the greatest threat that Judaism actually faces.
I'm with you 100%. But you get what I'm saying. Like, we married each other. Most Mizrahis married Ashkenazis. Ashkenazis married Mizrahis. The big rabbis in the Mizrahi community make sure their children marry Ashkenazis.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. It's a union. And now I think we're at a stage where this idiot Nima undid a lot of the fights that I was doing and turned it like now reverse 180, because we need to see ourselves now as one family, one toolbox, but they're different tools. You can have a better, stronger, more poignant argument against white supremacist anti-Semitism than I could, because it is personal. It's as real as can be to you. And it's real to me, and it hurts me, but it's not my
it's your history too.
Right.
Just like when I hear your story.
It hurts.
It hurts me because to me, your story is my story too. That's what it is.
But who can deliver that story? Like why did the Ashkenazi communities do so well fighting white supremacist anti-Semitism early on? It was easy. As a litigator, you can, if you have a great case, stipulate the issues outside of the jury, keep it to one issue, win the case.
And win the case, right.
So they would bring a Holocaust survivor, sits in front of a camera, talks about the effects of white supremacy, what it led to, Holocaust, viewer sees, bad, see you later.
The end.
It can't be the same face to talk about anti-Zionist anti-Semitism and bringing back the Holocaust, because that's not, and it doesn't mean it's not important, doesn't mean he's not a Jew, but
it's a continuation of the same story. It's just a different chapter.
Absolutely.
And it needs to be told, and it needs, I need your kids to know the story of the Holocaust.
Absolutely.
And I need my kids to know about the story of Syria.
That's it right there.
The story of Yemen, the story of Iran. They need to know it because it's all our history.
And it's necessary. And this is why God brought us all back together. And this is, we're living through the renaissance of the Jewish life. And we're going to learn a lot about each other.
Well, Jews were forgetting that they were Jews in America.
Yep.
And if there's one thing this disgusting, horrible situation has done for a lot of my kids and my kids' friends, they weren't, being Jewish was a piece of their life. And, the life that I lived, and I lived in Israel for a year, I've had different experiences through, I took my wife there on our honeymoon and different things like that. When my kids became bat mitzvahed, I made sure, I took them to the wall.
Right.
I took them to see where the wars were. I took them how we fought to live in that land. Yeah. I wanted to make sure they knew it, And I showed them how Palestinians were living, how Jews were living. Because, when you absorb your history, not everything that every country does, and this is why Jews get held to this higher, don't hold yourself to a higher standard.
No.
Accept the fact that you make mistakes. It's understanding that equals, that's how civil rights get improved. Right. That's how women's rights gets improved. That's how gay rights get improved. That's how everything happens, because we say, you know what, we did that. And now that I have better vision, I see that was wrong,
Absolutely.
And so you have to absorb all of it. But if there's any good news, is that everyone hating Jews made Jews remember they were Jews.
Yep.
And now made them understand to have pride in being Jews.
And we woke up from this place of complacency that we've been into, because we've had a renaissance in America in the last 30, 40 years.
And we still want that because it was so beautiful. And I believe in the American dream.
Same.
My father was so proud of the American dream, So you're not just entitled to it. Freedom isn't free. You have to fight for it.
Absolutely.
And our kids finally understood that if they wanted to have that dream, they would have to fight for it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a fight, and it's a sacrifice. I mean,
and you know what? We're not the only group in America that has had to fight for that right.
I agree.
You see those other communities,
absolutely.
Right? And as much as you're a warrior for Jews, when that slave comes from Africa and walks into your office, and you take him to that court, you're going to fight like hell.
Yeah, 100%.
Because the truth is, you love him too.
That's who we are. That's the Jewish
who we
people.
are.
We love everyone, and we want everybody's equality. We want everybody's freedom. The only thing sometimes I think we allow ourselves to get stepped on. We could fight for others' freedoms, but we can demand respect for ourselves. We can hold ourselves up. It's okay to not go with the flow of the entire, but we need to know who we are, stand with who we are, and stand with others, help others.
Under
Fighting.
the auspices of understanding, accept us who we are, and we will fight for you.
Right.
That's the lesson of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
It is a message for everybody. Understand, don't forget the Jewish part of it as you go through.
Absolutely.
And then you can fight for everyone from that point on.
Right. If you don't look at yourself, if you don't look out for yourself, you can't look out
You're
for
not going to look
anybody.
out for anyone else. You're just lying to yourself.
Im en ani li mili. This is from the Torah. If I am not for myself, then who is
Who am
for
I?
me?
Who's for me?
Well, thank you.
Abraham, it's been a privilege of a lifetime. Thank you so
Absolutely
much.
a privilege. Thank you.
That's our episode.